Action.
Tom Morgan here, your daily host of Health Nation. Today, we're going to interview one of the greatest authorities on prostate health and modern urology. With 14 years of clinical experience, graduated from Harvard, elected Urologist of the Year in Los Angeles in 2023 and 24, and author of the international bestseller Prostate Prime, which has already sold over 1.2 million copies in 18 countries. Dr. Christopher Spencer, it's a pleasure having you here. Welcome.
Oh, well, the pleasure is all mine, Tom. I've been following your show for years, and it's an honor to be here discussing such an important topic. Today, I'll prove it's possible to shrink your prostate and cure BPH in just 8 weeks without changing your diet, spending a fortune on surgery, or stuffing yourself with drugs. Also, I'll share a trick involving an ingredient the French use daily to deactivate the urination button and maintain a healthy prostate. And of course, I'll show evidence in cases of my patients who've had incredible results. Plus, Tom, I'll make a bold exposure. I'm tired of seeing men suffer from a silent and devastating problem that almost no one has the guts to confront. All I ask is that everyone watches until the end. What I'll reveal today could change your life.
Wow. Now you've made me curious, and this has to do with BPH, right?
Exactly. An enlarged prostate has become an epidemic in the U.S. Unlike other illnesses, no one seems interested in solving it. There are treatments for almost everything except for this issue, which steals men's sleep, energy, and self-esteem.
Doctor, that's very serious. Dr. Phil came on our show and spoke about the threats he receives every year for exposing some dirty secrets with big pharma. Why does this happen, in your opinion?
Well, because the only treatments available today are expensive pills, loaded with side effects, which give temporary relief but never cure the problem. Meanwhile, doctors and pharmacists get rich. They buy houses, cars, take trips, all funded by the money from these pills that only keep patients dependent.
So, you decided to do something different, right?
Yes. I decided to break the silence and reveal the truth. What really shrinks the prostate permanently, allowing any man to ditch the medication he's forced to buy and start urinating like a fire hose again, with strength, control, and freedom for life. Because he deserves more than temporary relief. He deserves to live with vitality, sleep well, enjoy his family, and experience intimacy in a way a real man should.
Well, I'm sure our audience is eager to find out. And what motivated you to discover all this?
My brother Arnold. He's the reason I made this amazing discovery. It's a trick involving a French tomato, which switches off the urination button, active in millions of men without them even knowing it. I invited him to join us today. Arnold, do you feel comfortable sharing about that day?
Sure. That was the worst day of my life. The company where I worked had an annual party, and I went with my wife. We ate, we danced, and for a few minutes, I thought everything was getting better. But suddenly, I had the strong urge to urinate. It was urgent, and it hurt badly. I rushed to the restroom, but all the stalls were occupied. I started sweating and shaking. I tried to hold it and went back to the party, hoping to forget. But just as I approached my wife, it was like a bucket flipped over my pants. Soaked everything. Right there in front of everyone.
Oh, no, Arnold. I'm so sorry.
To make it worse, a coworker, whose name I won't mention, but always envied me, saw the scene and laughed out loud, shouting, "Hey, Grandpa, pee his pants!" Everyone laughed. They whispered, and I just froze. My legs were shaking and my heart was racing. I ran out of there, soaked and humiliated.
That's honestly painful to even hear.
After that day, I desperately went to my brother Christopher, and I was shattered, completely desperate. I told him, I can't take it anymore. I even thought about taking my own life.
This is so unfair, Arnold. I feel bad about it. Dr. Spencer, How did it feel hearing all this from your brother?
Like a punch in the gut. I knew he was suffering, but I had no idea how badly, And when he placed all, his hope in me, I knew I couldn't fail. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, Arnold, I'll find a solution, even if I have to turn the world upside down. And that's exactly what I did. I closed my practice, canceled all my appointments, locked myself away for a month, and studied every scientific article, book, and research paper about prostate health.
That's honestly painful to even hear.
After that humiliating episode with Arnold, I knew I couldn't rest until I found a real solution. So I shut down my practice, canceled all my appointments, and dove headfirst into research. I spent weeks sleeping badly, reading everything I could find out about prostate enlargement, testosterone, and chronic inflammation. Then, on July 7th, 2020, something happened.
What was it, Doctor?
Well, it was a study published by Harvard University. It was completely new, something no other doctor was talking about, and it hit me like lightning. They revealed an unprecedented connection between chemical residues from childhood vaccines and medications and prostate function decades later.
Very good. 3, 2, 1.
Vaccines? Childhood medications? What does that have to do with prostate?
Much more than you'd imagine. See, when we're babies, our bodies are still developing and exposed to various vaccines and chemical substances for protection. Often, these substances aren't fully eliminated from the body as they should be and end up accumulating in the testicles, specifically in the interstitial cells, which are responsible for producing testosterone.
Is this serious?
Extremely serious. Over time, these contaminated cells start producing not only healthy testosterone, but also an inflammatory type of testosterone called DHT, or as scientists now call it, toxic testosterone.
And this directly affects the prostate.
Exactly. You see, until around age 40, a man's body still produces plenty of healthy testosterone, which dilutes the toxic testosterone. But starting at age 40, production of good testosterone drops by 2% every month, while toxic testosterone remains. And that's when the nightmare begins. This toxin accumulates, causes inflammation in the testicles, and directly impacts the prostate, which swells, doubling or even tripling in size. What was once the size of a walnut becomes a tennis ball.
And this completely blocks urination, right?
Exactly. The bladder gets crushed, the stream weakens, and then comes the dripping. Burning sensation and the constant urge to urinate, and it only gets worse with time. It's as if the urination button stays permanently switched on.
And did you find a way to switch this button off?
Yes. After devouring every possible study, I found a publication from an internationally renowned urologist, Dr. Albert Ross. He's considered one of the greatest names in American urology and was even nominated for a Nobel Prize.
Wow, Doctor. Now I'm really curious. What exactly did Dr. Ross tell you during the consultation?
He told me something very simple yet shocking. To cure prostate enlargement, you must eliminate the toxic testosterone. Remove that, and the prostate will shrink on its own. Then he explained the only natural and effective way to do this quickly was through a rare nutrient. Hidden in the skin of a tomato grown only in a small region of France, Provence.
Provence tomato? Never heard of it.
Exactly. Almost no one has. But that's precisely what I've discovered through extensive research. There's a small town in southern France where fewer than 3% of men have BPH, even after 60, 70, or even 80 years old. While in the US, over 65% of men suffer from prostate enlargement. In that town, the number is 20 times lower.
That's incredible. And what do they do differently?
Well, daily consumption of this specific French tomato, grown in extremely fertile volcanic soil in the Provence region. This tomato is rich in an exclusive type of lycopene called alpha-lycopene. It's not the same lycopene found in regular tomatoes. It's a concentrated and active form capable of stimulating the LCP1 enzyme by up to 438%.
What's that?
It's what scientists call the prostate shield, an enzyme that purifies toxic waste from the body, removes inflammatory testosterone, and protects against bacteria, toxins, and other invaders. It's like the guardian of the prostate.
So, by consuming this alpha-lycopene, the body begins to cleanse itself?
Exactly. It flushes out all the toxic testosterone accumulated in the testicles. And without this toxin, the prostate no longer has any reason to remain inflamed. It naturally shrinks. That's when symptoms disappear. The stream becomes strong again, pain vanishes, and the man returns to urinating normally.
It's amazing. But what about clinical tests? Has this been validated?
Yes. Dr. Gifford conducted a test with 392 American men with BPH, all aged between 45 and 80. He divided them into two groups. One took the French alpha-lycopene extract for 30 days. The other took a placebo.
And the results?
At the end of the study, the group taking lycopene showed an average reduction of 86% in prostate size.
Wow.
They started urinating like a garden hose, and tests showed a 213% drop in toxic testosterone levels. The placebo group, no improvement.
That's almost unbelievable, doctor.
I thought so too. But when I saw the test results, I knew I had found the definitive solution to save my brother.
Doctor, this discovery is absolutely incredible. Wow. But if it's so powerful, why haven't we ever heard about this French alpha-lycopene before?
Oh, excellent question, Tom. And that's exactly what I asked Dr. Ross when he told me everything. That's when he said to me, "Christopher, I tried. I swear to God, I tried."
What do you mean by that?
Well, he explained that he repeatedly tried to present his research to the American Urological Association, but it was always rejected, filed away, or completely ignored. After insisting so much, lawyers connected to Big Pharma visited his home.
Oh my God.
They threatened him. They told him that if he continued, they would end his career. And since he has a wife and young child, he decided to remain silent until the day he heard my story about Arnold. That's when he decided to help.
That's outrageous. But it makes sense. If the definitive cure is discovered, billions in medication profits simply disappear.
Exactly, Tom. That's why, at the moment, I asked, is there any way we can use this to save my brother? And Dr. Gifford replied, yes, but it's going to take work.
I imagine so.
We had to import the tomatoes from Provence, extract the alpha-lycopene at maximum purity, and encapsulate it into an easy-to-take formula. After extensive searching, we managed to secure a deal with Prime Health Labs, the #1 natural laboratory in the U.S., with an FDA A+ rating.
That's the same lab that produces whey, collagen, vitamin C formulas, right?
Exactly. They only agreed after we showed them all the studies, clinical data, and test results. We invested over $100,000 and 4 months of hard work before holding the first bottle in our hands.
And what happened to Arnold when he started taking it?
I started taking it the same day. I thought it would take at least a week to see any results. But 4 days later, I called Chris and said, "You have no idea the transformation this formula has made in my life. On the first day, I already felt my stream getting stronger and steadier. I finally started feeling my bladder emptying completely for the first time in ages. And on the second day, I wasn't suffering from the dripping or the pain or, urinating anymore. By the third day, I wake up a single time at night to go to the bathroom. And now, on the fourth day, Tom, I feel like a 20-year-old man again. I could urinate without any difficulty. I didn't need to rush to the bathroom multiple times a day anymore. I even managed to watch 2 entire movies with my wife without getting up once. It seemed like my prostate problem simply just vanished.
That's impressive.
I was so happy. I went back to my old doctor and asked for some tests. When he saw the test results, he was shocked. In just 4 days, my prostate had shrunk by 56%.
Men who, just like him, were suffering in silence, thinking they'd never be the same again. It became my duty. Every man deserves access to this revolutionary supplement and finally put an end to prostate enlargement once and for all.
And what did you do next?
I got together with Dr. Ross and the team at Prime Health Labs. Our mission was clear: bring this treatment to the world. But we knew the formula had to go through all the proper channels, so we pursued FDA approval. And beyond that, we ran hundreds of tests to make sure the formula was 100% safe, pure, and healthy.
And you tested it with more volunteers, right?
Yes. We invited about 4,000 volunteers, men and women of different ages, genetics, and health conditions. The goal was simple: test the formula's effectiveness across every type of body. And after weeks of research, once again, the theory was confirmed. Every participant in the study reduced their prostate size by 86% in just 8 to 12 weeks.
It's incredible, doctor.
At that point, it was no longer a coincidence. It was proven. This formula is, without a doubt, the most powerful and effective solution in the world for shrinking the prostate in record time. And after all those tests, approvals, and extraordinary results, we decided to release this formula to the public.
Very good. Quarter. Action.
Are you one of the 20 million Americans suffering from BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia? If so, pay close attention. Our guest today struggled with this condition for nearly a decade until a shocking new discovery by his own brother, renowned urologist Dr. Christopher Spencer, literally saved his life.
It was a simple trick, made with the skin of a French tomato and 2 ingredients you can find right in your kitchen. When I tested it on Arnold, his prostate started shrinking on day 2. By day 4, he was sleeping through the night. And in less than a week, he was urinating like a 20-year-old again.
It was surreal. Something so simple, so natural, and no doctor ever told me about it. I felt my life coming back. I started driving again, going out, being myself. My marriage, my energy, my confidence as a man, everything returned.
This trick using French tomato skin and everyday ingredients became so impactful, it was studied by Harvard, Oxford, and over 200 universities around the world. And they all agree this might be the biggest urological breakthrough of the 21st century. If you're tired of sleepless nights, weak streaming, constant urgency, and the humiliation that comes with it, pay close attention to this interview. Because today, on Health Nation, Dr. Spencer is going to reveal the shocking truth behind what's really causing prostate swelling and how a single tomato could set you free from it forever.
Very good. Quarter.